This is In Focus, and I am Anupama Chandrasekaran. Tariffs are often spoken of as numbers 25%, then 50, the rate Washington set on August 27th for Indian goods. But behind those statistics are shuttered workshops and even half empty order books. The US called it a punishment for buying Russian oil, for keeping out American goods, and for standing firm with BRICS, that bloc of large emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Electronics and medicines may be spared, at least for now, but in the engineering trade, in the foundries and the shops that make steel parts, auto components, heavy machines, there seems to be no shelter. With me today is Mr. Pankaj Chadha, Chairman of the Engineering Exports Promotion Council of India, to talk about how an American tariff war is reshaping Indian shop floors and factory towns. Hello, Mr. Chadha. Welcome to In Focus. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Chadha, could you start by telling us about your work? You are a part of Jyoti Steel. Could you start a little bit by telling us about your background and your work, and then we'll move on to the topic at hand.
I run a company called Jyoti Steel. We are a specialty steel maker out of Mumbai. We are a SME and we are the largest exporter in the MSME sector from the engineering sector, and having got the engineering award for the last 25 years. We have about a 10% exposure of our exports to the US market, which is fairly sizable, but maybe manageable. And I also am the chairman of the EEPC, which is the largest export promotion council from India. We hope to do a export about $120 billion this year. We did 117 last year. We are 28% of India's export. And from a GDP angle, I would say if you look domestic and international, we could be close to 7 to 8% of the GDP of India. I would say engineering, if you want look at it, we make from a pin to an aircraft carrier comes in engineering. Auto comes in it, pumps comes in it, castings comes in it, aluminum comes in it, copper comes in it. Everything comes in the engineering sector.
And of course, the EEPC is the Engineering Exports Promotion Council of India, which I referred to earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, based on what you're saying, you are kind of really having a good sense of what's going on the ground with these tariffs, considering that your own company exports extensively to the US. You're part of a sector which is focused a lot on the US market. Its export sector, the engineering export sector, is obviously very huge. It contributes to exports, it creates jobs, it supports industrial growth, like you rightly mentioned, in terms of the GDP. Could you explain again briefly about just the scale of this sector and why it matters so much to the Indian economy?
I will delve on the export aspect because we are an export, association, engineering export promotion, EEPC. So
Right.
we have about 11,000 members. We have 70% of them being MSMEs. So India's engineering export is largely driven by the MSME sector, and 50% of India's engineering export comes out of from the MSME sector. As I say, it plays a very important role for the MSME sector, and engineering is actually encompasses every day to day everything. You would have something of engineering coming in your day to day life every day.
Right, like you mentioned, from pins to aircraft
An aircraft
wings,
carrier.
right? Yeah, and just to also clarify what MSME is, you're basically talking about micro, small, and medium
And
enterprises,
medium.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So yeah, so it plays a very important role in our economy. It's not just about factories, of course, right? I mean, recently the US imposed 50% tariffs on some Indian products, from large machinery to smaller components. How is this shock being felt across the sector? Are some parts of the industry faring better than others?
Just to correct you, the entire engineering sector is in 50% tariff, not some.
Oh, really?
Let
Okay.
me. We have three tariffs on the engineering sector. We have one 11th of March, we have what we call as steel, products of steel and aluminium, chapter 72, 73, and 76. These were tariffs under section 232, and they are called as sectoral tariffs. The
Okay.
sectoral tariff came in on 11th of March, and that was at 25%. And on 4th of June, when President Trump visited Pittsburgh, the factory of US Steel, he doubled the tariff to 50%. The tariff
That's
still
crazy.
exists. These are
Hmm.
not challenged because Section 232 is a security section. So it's part of national security. So these are not challenged, and these are the here to stay. So that's $5 billion. Then on 27th of March, we have auto and auto components tariff, which was our share is 2.5 to $2.6 billion. So auto components is $6 billion, but we have 2.5 to 6 because auto components also has tires and sheets and everything. But the engineering aspect is $2.5 billion. And then we have the balance tariff, which is which came in I would say that's what we call as reciprocal tariff. The
Hmm.
reciprocal tariff from 4th of April was the baseline 10%. Then 4th of August came 25, and 27th of August that came to 50 based on the Russian oil penalty.
This
There we have
doesn't sound good
half
at all.
billion. No, it doesn't look good at all. We have to bear it, and as the engineering sector is the largest sector out of India. You see, as I said, we have $20 billion exposure to the US market.
Right.
So it is a challenge, but I guess we'll have to live up to this challenge because at the end of the day, as an industry, we have no choice. We are forced with this, and whether I like it or not, I have to face it. So let's
Right.
face it.
And Mr. Chadha, just to clarify the section 232, because that's a very important point that you're talking about. This is basically, uh, you know, a reason that it's basically a section of the US Trade Expansion Act, right, which allows the President of the United States to impose tariffs of quotas on imports if they threaten national security, right? And
Yes.
that's kind of vaguely defined also, and it basically allows America to justify tariffs on economic grounds, right? Which, of course, may be protectionism in disguise.
Well, Section 232 justifies tariff on account of national security grounds. And that is why that's not challenged in any of the courts, because it's something which came in Trump term one, and Trump, and that time it was accepted by the courts. So in Trump 2, it's there. He's reintroduced it and with a broader definition. And practically now, after the reciprocal tariff, entire engineering sector is under, most of it under 50% tariff.
When you were telling me about, the sequence of tariffs that were being imposed, it felt like it was one thing after the other. And but you seem to be quite confident despite all that. Tell me a little bit about what's really what's really brewing on the ground. What are you hearing from your members? It's because it's just obviously not about factories, right? It's about a whole chain of people, businesses, from raw material suppliers, logistic providers, workers, who are all being affected. And can you share any stories or examples from this chain?
I think, yes, I agree that we are putting up a brave front. But at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is we are trying to adopt various strategies, right? One would be to de-risk. It's very easy to say it, but to find an alternate market is not so easy. But the process has started. So we are trying to de-risk from North America down to South America, because the American market has similar standards to the South American. So the South America is where you can offload some part of the business to North America, like Chile, Peru, Mexico. So there we have asked, we are trying to expand business. We have also simultaneously asked the government to expedite the FTA with Chile, Peru, and Mexico. So that's one section that we are looking at for this. Then the second section is when we look at the fact is that we have to now also send maybe more quantities to Europe. But Europe, we are handicapped with the impending CBAM coming up, which is on 1st of January 2026. So again, for CBAM, we are asking the government that if for the MSME sector, at least if they could share some part of the costs of certification, because CBAM certification is a quarterly certification, and in a year it would be totally for an MSME would cost anything between 12 and 15 lakhs. So we
And
felt that
and
15
just to
lakhs a year.
clarify, CBAM basically is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, right? Which is the
Mechanism.
EU's,
Yes.
European Union's tool to put a carbon price on imports like steel, cement,
Yes. Yes.
aluminium, so that
Yeah.
foreign producers face the same carbon costs as EU companies, basically, right?
Yes. So that's coming in
Okay.
on 1st of January 26. So therefore, all companies that wish to export to EU have to have their carbon content of their product of their mill certified. It has to be certified by a third party. So therefore, this is the cost of what it is. So there, roughly, as I said, it's about 12 to 15 lakhs a year. So we have requested the government of India, because if you don't get your carbon percentage certified, your carbon emission, then you can't even be in a supplier list to a EU company importer.
Right, that's the first step you're saying.
First step. So it's not getting the business, is qualifying to be in the race to be the get the business.
Yeah.
So therefore, we have said that can you at least share half of this cost? So they are studying it. It's under the MEI scheme. Again, MEI is part of the export promotion mission. So we have said that in the export promotion mission, you should focus on 2 or 3 key aspects. One is the interest subvention for the MSME sector. Again, I'm talking MSME because MSMEs are, as the survey and as the practice is, are paying close to 9% and above for their export credit facilities, which actually is too high. So therefore, we have asked that the government, there was an interest subvention scheme which expired on 31st of December last year. So we are saying that kindly reintroduce that and give us that 3% that we were giving before, so that at least we can get the rate of interest to the MSMEs down to export credit basis. So basically that is one. And also we have said that since we are talking of de-risking, we need to walk that talk, in the sense, just by saying that de-risk doesn't mean my MSME can just start traveling. So therefore I'm saying under the MEI scheme, if I want my MSMEs to go to what I would call, I can't say difficult destination, but offbeat destination like South America, West Africa, North Africa, I need to carry him, take him around to fairs, buyer seller meets. For that, with his current financial situation, a tight this thing, he may not want to spend that much to promote brand India. So therefore, we are asking under the MEI scheme to give us some funds so that I can carry my MSME exporters to these difficult markets for business study, export study.
And just to again explain, you're talking about the Market Access Initiative, right? Which is basically funds export promotion activities for Indian products.
Which is part
right?
of the export promotion mission. That's
Right.
part of the export promotions.
Yeah. And like you're saying, if you have to look at new markets, you have to actually cultivate them first, right? It's not like you are just going to pitch and you're going to get the business right away, right? You have to travel there, you'll have to build relationships and things like that.
Yes.
But I'm curious, if you're looking at South America or even West Africa or North Africa, do you think it'll now have to be a volumes game now? Because obviously the margins, the profits, and the prices that one probably gained from selling to the United States, do you think that can be matched? Like what is happening? What are the discussions you're having across the supply
I
chain?
don't think so. 20% of our exports were to US. So you can't overnight replicate that 20%. But let's try as much as we can. Let's be honest, we can't replicate it overnight. And so we are trying our best. We have to match, we have to try. It will not only be a volumes game, it will also be a value game, because at the end of the day, the prices of USA were always the best prices.
Yeah.
So naturally, if you're going to sell into Africa, you're not going to get the same price. But let's try and at least keep up the sales, so that at least there's at least some volume of sales which then effectively gets your costs down.
Right, right. What I mean, I was asking earlier about, who are the people that are being affected by this, as you talk to your members who are, micro as well as small and medium enterprises. Who are the people being affected by this? And can you share any stories about what's going on the ground? I mean, you spoke about how you're interacting with the government and also how you're looking at alternative markets. But currently, what is the state of the businesses, of workers? What are you hearing from the ground?
See, basically, I think the entire engineering sector is affected. MSMEs constitute 70% of my exporters. So 70% of my exporters are affected. From a angle of items, Chapter 73, which is products of steel, sits entirely in the MSME sector. That's about $3.5 billion of export. That sits entirely in the MSME sector. So they are under a severe stress. So are the other sections also, because every section is has got a fairly large MSME component, and all of them are
Right.
exporting to USA. So I think the strain of stress is across the board. It's not like a particular sector, and all of them are trying to do some or the other, like a de-risk, every strategy that they can know of. And also the fact is that these are all markets. The American market has been cultivated over a period of time. I mean, it's like 10 years, 20 years of relationship. So naturally, every supplier wants to keep a buyer who's been with him for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. He doesn't want to lose him overnight. So he's trying his best. The buyer also wants to buy something from India as long as it's possible in terms of financial viability. So both sides are trying, but you must realize we are at 50% in the reciprocal tariff, and the others competitors are maybe 19 and 20%. So a
Hmm.
delta of 30% is very difficult to bridge.
It
If
is.
we were at 25, a delta of 6 is 5, 6 is easy to bridge. We were doing it. But the
Right.
moment it flipped from 25 to 50, then this delta is out of our control.
No, that's true. I mean, that's like a huge, huge dump. The government does seem to have rolled out some support, right, to exporters to manage cash flow and navigate trade rules. Which of these measures are actually making a difference for the companies right now, or is it at all making any difference?
Well, the government has said they would do something. As
Hmm.
of now, I don't see a measure in place in operation, but I'm confident that the government will walk its talk. They said they will do it. The finance minister also said it. The commerce minister also said it. They said they'll take care of our exporters. So let's hope they do. I mean, we have full faith in our leadership and in the government, and hopefully something will come out soon. We
Yeah.
have to wait and watch on that.
Yeah. As part of this series where we are talking about tariffs on Indian sectors, we are also talking to other, industry heads, people in other sectors that have been affected by the tariffs. And one of the things that cropped up is about loans, about credit lines, about interest payments. Is that something that is also, top of mind for a lot of your members, a lot of these companies along the value chain? Because you have to take care of working capital while your orders are kind of not going through. You have interest to pay on loans, on capital expenses that you've made. You probably want a little bit of reprieve while you figure out what's going on, right? So can you tell me a little bit about that aspect, the financial aspect of it, and discussions with banks? Or yeah.
Yeah, there are, I would say, three aspects in that. One definitely is the rate of interest, because everybody wants a lower rate of interest. Second comes to the fact is that we are also approaching the government that, at least like COVID, this period should be treated as an exceptional period, and our rating should not get affected. See, the fact is that when our MSMEs are getting their rating,
The credit
every year
rating,
you
you're
have to
saying.
get your rating. So when the rating agency talks, the first question he asks is, how much is your exposure to USA? I mean, if he's going to use my exposure to USA as a benchmark for my rating, then I'm sure I'm not even getting the same rating. I'll go down. I can't go up. So my question to the government is, please sensitize the rating agencies. You can't be, these are exceptional times. And third is, we need at least in the term facilities, 1 or 2 year moratorium for payment of the principal, and if possible the interest for the banks is much more is difficult, because they need to account for it in their balance sheet. So therefore there's but at least if the principal can be moved 2 years down the line like they did in COVID, we would definitely have less stress. It's something that we have already asked. uh, I hope to meet the RBI governor next week. We have asked for a meeting. We will put all these points to the RBI governor also, and hopefully we get something better out of it.
Mm. I could hear in the background announcements. You're obviously in a conference,
Affair.
in an exhibition, in a fair,
Yes.
probably a fair that had been arranged several months ahead of all these changes and these tumultuous, announcements. What's the mood been like? As you meet people. I mean, it's obviously a place where you're hobnobbing with people from your industry. Would it have been different if none of these things I mean, are you seeing a difference in just the mood?
Yeah, there's more urgency to sell to non-US markets. I don't see a single US buyer visiting me or visiting the fair. It's a waste of their time to come to India to try and buy.
Right. Oh,
So
this
I
is
have
an
seen
international fair?
non-US buyers. It's an
This is an
international
international.
fair,
Okay.
and it's in the Bharat Mandapam, and it's a fairly large fair with a lot of visitors, a lot of traffic, and hopefully everybody is looking for newer markets.
And
Is it-
normally you would have a lot of US buyers. Would that normally have been the
You'd
case?
have some US buyers at least. Now you don't have a single US buyer. I haven't seen a single US guy. It doesn't make sense for him to travel, and it doesn't make sense for us to even have him travel, because it
Yeah,
doesn't make
yeah.
sense. Let's face the
Yeah.
fact.
Now, beyond finance, I mean, you did mention you've asked for a meeting with the RBI governor. Beyond finance and reaching new markets and meeting global standards, what steps are being taken to help exporters, improve other things related to their products, workforce skills? Any stories of companies working successfully to adapt to these changing times, or is it all, like a work in progress right now and in flux?
Currently, it's a work in progress. Everybody is trying to figure out how to solve this and how to sort of do this. So there's nothing like a one size fit all policy. Everybody is trying whatever they can and trying to sort of rationalize their workforce, get a tight hold on their expenses, and again trying to look at alternate markets. Everything all is trying to come together, so that at the end he has to sort of fit in that delta of 30%, which is the delta which is going to be effective, which is going to definitely be difficult to bridge, but everybody's trying, and that's all
Hmm.
we have for us to do.
Right.
Try.
And when you're talking about the delta, you're talking about the difference between the price that an Indian exporter would quote versus other competitive countries would
The
quote to the
tariff.
American,
The
right?
tariff. The
Tariff.
average
And
tariff would be 19 and 20%, and we are at 50. So there's a delta of 30%. We
right,
got to
right.
bridge that because that's what is going to cost extra to buy Indian material, Indian goods. So definitely they are looking at, we are trying to look at how to bridge that delta. We are asked the
Right.
government if there is possibility to share 50% of that, 15% by virtue of a focus market script for USA only. We have that is also something we have
Oh,
asked the government.
could you say that again? What was the term you used? A
See,
focused?
basically, there was a focus market scheme where for
Okay.
certain markets, the
Hmm.
government gave you a script of a percentage of a FOB value, right?
Okay.
So we are saying that under the focus market, it has been discontinued quite some time back. So we
Okay.
are saying if that is a scheme that existed, if you
Hmm.
reinstate that scheme and give us say 15% of the FOB value of the script as a script for exports
Hmm.
to USA, then at least
Hmm.
you bridged half, we'll bridge the other half, and we'll still keep our customer. And the
Right.
whole purpose now is to keep your customer. Don't let
Right.
him go. Because once he goes, then it's a challenge to get him back.
Got it.
So
So you're
that's
saying,
our thing is
yeah,
to keep the customer.
Right. So you're saying that is there any way that you can actually still remain competitive in the US market? And you're asking for help from the government to help you kind of manage that. So, on one hand, of course, the exporters themselves are trying to squish their costs, like you said, by maybe laying off. And you said rationalize the workforce. It's probably kind of letting go of some labor, cutting down their costs, trying to be really kind of tight with their
I
costs.
use the word rationalize. I don't want to say downsize.
Okay. So,
Downsize is
what,
not a
how
nice word. That's why I use
okay.
the word rationalize. I'm
But would
happy
it
with
mean
the
the same?
rationalization. Rationalization,
Okay.
you know what I mean.
Okay. So you're saying that you would want the government to bring back the focused market scheme, right? Which was an Indian export promotion scheme that basically gave
Temporarily,
duty cre-
temporarily for 6 months
and
or so.
it gave credit
Yeah.
incentives to exporters, right?
No, it
In
gave a
specific.
script to the exporter, a script
Okay.
as a fixed as a percentage. So we have requested for 15% script to be
Hmm.
given to the exporter for on the
Hmm.
FOB value, so that the 30% gap is bridged 15% by this script and 15% half by us, the balance
Right.
15%.
Right. So
That's one of
it'll
the
basically
proposals.
yeah. So it'll be basically like a subsidy, right? I mean, I'm simplifying it over here, but basically the government helps you come through to just about an extra 15%, right? And you manage that.
Again, I would not use the word subsidy. I would say help,
Okay. Help. Okay. Got
because
it.
subsidy
Now,
is a word which a lot of people are not very happy with. So I say a
oh,
temporary help, a
okay.
bridge.
Got it. Okay. Now, uh, looking globally, countries in the global south like China and Brazil are also facing similar trade disruptions, right? Are there lessons India can learn from their experiences too? And you did mention it, Latin America, Middle East, elsewhere, which of these markets seem most promising for Indian engineering exports going forward? But to start with, are there lessons India can learn from, say, China or Brazil, who are facing similar onslaughts?
See, Brazil is a different, because Brazil government has given a $6 billion scheme. That scheme is, I think, guarantees and others. The Indian government is studying that scheme, because we asked the Indian government, please study the Brazil scheme. If there's something from there you can give to us, we'd be happy to take, because we're trying to look at all types. So that's a scheme that the government is looking at, whether something out of it can be given like that to India. The Chinese, uh, nobody knows how the government helps them. It's a very opaque sort of a scheme. So if you were to tell me how the Chinese help their industry, I think it's only in the Chinese whispers. And at the moment, I'm not getting any Chinese whispers that I can give you that answer. But they are doing something much more than for their industry than, and that's why they are still able to stick around and compete despite tariffs.
Right, right. And can you explain a little bit more about Brazil, the 6 billion kind of scheme that
Brazil
you were
has
talking
just
about?
announced that for their exporters, they would give, there is a provision of $6 billion in their budget or whatever to help exporters. In there is a, the scheme is there. We are studying that scheme to see if that scheme is only for deferment of liability or is it for domestic or whatever it is. And we are studying that scheme. But Brazil has already announced it. So we have said that let's look at what others are doing. If something we can get out of it, we'll do that.
Hmm. And I'm just looking it up as I was talking to you. This, I think it's known as the Brazil Soberano, which is
Yes.
basically Sovereign Brazil Plan. And
Yes.
this is like a support package for
Yeah.
exporters that they announced last month, right? That's
Yes.
what you're talking
Yes.
about. So something like
Yes.
that has to be considered by the Indian government, is what you're saying. Uh, is there anything, I mean, as you are in this fair, as you're meeting people, is there anything that, you've been in this sector for so long, you have connections with the businesses, you have connections with the workers, you know what's going on, you've exported to some of these major countries for many many years. Have you ever seen a time like this?
Yeah. COVID was one time. Uh, I would say that would be the nearest that comes to. 2008, India did not get that badly affected. Uh, steel prices went down in 2017-18, but those were all small blips. This is like a big whammy. So the big whammy comes. It came in COVID time. The first, I would say, 2020. That was the whammy. 21 we covered back fast, and 22 we were riding the horse. So I guess 20 has been something that was similar. We are here up again now in 25, and I think we'll ride this also. I'm sure we'll ride this. How? Don't ask me. I don't have the answers immediately. If I had the answers, I would be doing something.
Yeah. No, I think it's difficult in these times to say that, right? It's very, very difficult, considering the kind of leadership we have all over the world. I think, it's so tough to figure out what's going to be there out there in the future, right? Things could even get better, or things can get worse. It's anybody's
Things
guess.
things could things could go either way. I mean, we could have a situation where India and the Russian war stops and India gets back with US to do a bilateral deal. Possible. Could be that Mr. Trump feels that maybe it's better be friends with India. That's a better option. I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, everybody is hopes, everybody thinks, but it could go even worse. I mean, like the worst aspect that I could look at would be that Trump has asked Europe also to put some sort of a duty or tariff for buying for India to buy Russian oil. So imagine the
Hmm.
European Union also comes up with a tariff. Then we are in another big thing. We have 20% to US and then we have 18% to the EU. So it
Right.
could get worse, could get better. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Maybe if you're optimistic, I'd say let's try it and see.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do hope. I mean, particularly given that it is such a huge part of India's economy, right? And the fact that it involves so many different paths down the value chain, right? And like you said, it's from the nuts and bolts to the biggest machinery that we can think of, that a lot of these raw materials and equipments are used in. So I do hope things change. But I thank you very much for your time, despite being in the flux of this fair and listening to all the announcements and everything. Thank you for your patience of sitting through this, and
Thank
appreciate
you
your
very much.
time.